Okay, what's up, everybody? Um, first video in a while. I want to cover these silly ass mofos talking about. It's not. My whole thing about sinners was that it it was showing races being killed in a way that's palpable to mainstream white America. It still had a lot of problems as a movie, and of course, anything mainstream that's going to get made today is going to have a lot of problems. I mean, the whole subplot of the white chick who's one drop black or some shit, Jewish chick, whatever she was, one drop black, and all of a sudden she's accepted as black or some bullshit. It's like if you look white, you are white. So it's just that was mind-numbing stupid. But that's the propaganda in modern films you're gonna see. But these clowns acting like because this movie shows like blatant Klansmen getting murdered, not really murdered. They were killed really righteously in the film by one of the twins, the Michael B twins. That they have a problem with that. So let's play some of this idiotic shit and see what's
Cast talks about slavery, dismisses Christianity, and most importantly, absolutely despises Whitey.
Well, it's already broken the Oscars
I wonder why Whitey's despised. It's not like they've committed a bunch of atrocities over the millennia.
all-time nominations record, and I got a feeling it's going to get a lot of wins.
And that's such a black pill because if you removed all the propaganda that's in this movie, it's still a terrible film in its own right. But when you can,
Yeah, it's not the good film. I mean, Rose was a better film. The film that came out a few years back, Judas and the Black Messiah, was a better black film. There's a lot of other better black films that have been made. Coogler, he's known for making these films that are palpable to white folks. You remember even the Black Panther movie. He had to have the British dude or British playing an American white man that still saves the day with the drone and Wakanda or some bullshit. He couldn't even make it a full movie where a white dude didn't save somebody.
consider not only how bad of a film it is, but also the absolutely disgusting anti-white messaging of this movie, it's absolutely an abomination.
Watching this, even if I turned my brain off to all the disgusting nonsense in this film, the first hour is such a...
So it's disgusting anti-white just because it shows white people being the white supremacist psychopaths that they are. Especially when the race was undefined back in this time period in the 1930s in Mississippi.
to drag, and then the second hour is complete chaos with no logic or reasoning. It's amazing.
Pretty much. But ignore all that, because people will gaslight you into trying to make you believe that this film is a deep exploration of...
If the film was really anti-white, it would have never won an Oscar. The film showed blatant white supremacists, like the Bubba and the whole dudes that do the whole land deal with the Michael B twins getting massacred at the end of the film. Like, and the movie didn't earn it like the movie Rosewood did. It didn't earn that scene because the whole movie they were chasing this supposed one drop black Jewish chick or some shit. So the whole movie did not earn it because they were chasing white girls the whole movie and looking like not doing one night stand, which is more forgivable. They're out to have a full relationship with a white chick, so that's unforgivable.
black identity in the face of oppression and cultural appropriation by the white devils who seek to use Christianity to erase black people's identity. And it paints whites as vultures and uses that same imagery many times throughout the movie to show that Whitey seeks to exploit the vastly superior black culture just to profit from it through years of propaganda.
Oh yeah, not like they get slavery for 200 years and whiteys like Bill think that slavery doesn't matter, and Warren think that slavery don't matter, even though they're autistic retards. So then you got, anything that happens to white folks, you never hear the end of it. Nazi Germany, where you never hear the end of it. Every time Irish famine, we never hear the end of it. Other white conflicts of French and English fighting each other and Joan of Arc shit, we never hear the end of it. Anything that happens to white folks, they can have centuries ago, it still matters. But anything that happens to black people, especially black American people, or any non-white people, it doesn't matter what we go through. It only matters if it happens to white folks.
And they've convinced tons of people that through films like Sinners, that they need to not only acknowledge, but atone for the sin of being white.
Not the sin of being white, the sin of being of doing white supremacy of the level of doing blatant owning people, other human beings as slaves and not paying the debt for it. These pretendians get reparations and we don't. Then the Jim Crow laws after that. And then now we're in the fine racism, white supremacy phase of life where, in the military, I was mistreated by primarily white folks and a few coons, but they don't bluntly call you a nigger to your face. Therefore, it's hard to pin down the racism. So unrefined racism is actually a worse variant because you can't actually pin down the white supremacists of today, and most of them are smart enough not to admit it. Yes, a few idiots like David Duke that just blatantly admit that they are white supremacists, but most modern white supremacists don't actually admit it. They're like a guy that pretends to be your friend whole entire time. He's going to date rape you or some shit.
Not worthy. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. We're scum.
But let's get straight into our reasoning for why we think this and not waste time. The movie starts with
you have no reason why. You're just an idiot running your cocksucking mouth.
Clarksdale, Mississippi, in the year 1932, and we're introduced to our protagonist, Sammy. The first scene is him stumbling into a church, all bloodied, disheveled, and at this point in the movie, we don't have the context to fully understand what is happening. But what we do see is Jedediah, who's Sammy's father, starts to give him a monologue about repenting, and interspersed all throughout it, we're shown these shots of Remick, who will be our primary antagonist and is a vampire, which quite clearly indicates that the church isn't much different than these blood-sucking vampires that we're going to get acquainted with later in this film.
Well, the subtext isn't exactly subtle. Like, whether it be evil white people or your own family full of God-fearing Christians, all they're trying to do is keep a brother down. That's it.
Following this, we're now in the present time, and Sammy is talking to his dad, and he equates being in the house of God with slavery.
I want to be free of all this for a day.
And his father wisely tells him,
You keep dancing with the devil. One day it's going to follow you home.
And what's crazy is this comes after Jedediah makes a perfectly reasonable request to Sammy that he assist him in preparing his sermon for church tomorrow, rather than playing music for drunks in a club. But you can immediately tell by the tone of this scene that it's meant to paint Christianity as a burden that exists just to restrict individual freedom. We're then introduced to the Smokestack twins as they buy an old sawmill from a white man named Hogwood, and they plan to transform it into a juke joint. Now, Hogwood is an evil, terrible racist, and while they're discussing the details of the sale, he calls them boys, to which they immediately respond by threatening him, but then giving their money to him.
And if we see you or any one of your clan buddies cross our property line, we're going to kill them right where they stand.
In the next scene, the twins pick up Sammy, who we find out is their younger cousin. And as they're driving down the road...
And see, that's a touch of black masculinity that was in the film that was a good portrayal. The movie didn't stick to that, but the movie that was a good portrayal because they still have to do business in this world. You have to do business with, by this point, the white man had owned most of the land. He had stolen back most of the land from black folks. He had taken most of the money, land, legitimate businesses. So you have to do business with the devil to get what you want, right? So it makes total sense why they would still do the deal with the guy. And the whole time the guy is planning to do this whole come back and do the murder thing on them. But these white supremacist little white boys making this little dumbass video. And I think these guys blew up making an Invincible video. And of course, they were talking about the homosexual agenda and Invincible. Totally agree with that. But then they go off on the rails and they're mad about the diversity, the racial diversity in Invincible. It's like, do these people want to just live on a white planet? Go to a European country. Well, European countries are important immigrants that have cheap prostitutes and drugs and all the stuff they want there. But like UK, for example, but go to some European country. Maybe Sweden doesn't import as immigrants as high level. Why don't y'all learn Swedish? Go to Sweden and never see white folks again. It's like how Puerto Ricans bitch and moan about black people and Dominicans bitch and moan about black people. Why don't you go back to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and never see a black person again other than occasional tourists? Why do you sit here in America, a melting pot that was made to be a melting pot by white supremacists in the past, the English colonials that took over the country by force, made into a melting pot to have cheap labor and second-class citizens? Instead of having the melting pot of America, go back to your country of freaking some country that doesn't import immigrants that level. I think most Western Europe is, but go to some country that's not importing immigrants. That's a white country, like Sweden or some shit. I would love to do your research on that shit and go there. But no, you're not going to do that. You're going to sit on your little funky white asses and complain about some bullshit straw man argument of some bullshit about that you don't like it because just showing that white supremacists getting killed is somehow offensive. Like, how is it offensive? It's almost like I don't bitch and moan if you portray a movie where have black criminals and the black criminals get killed. I don't bitch and moan he's a freaking criminal. But why do you? But then in a movie, black people don't complain when black criminals get killed. We only complain when innocent black people get killed. Why in a movie? Why are you all white supremacists? They still sympathize with white supremacists, blatant white supremacists. Then they're sympathizing with them and showing, oh, it's anti-white propaganda. It's like, how's that anti-white propaganda when you're just showing a white supremacist getting killed? Really, the movie was very favorable to white people. It showed the girl, forget the Haley Steinfeld's character, what her name was in the film. Haley Steinfeld, Jewish actress, so she's supposedly one drop black in the movie in context of the retarded film. And some great grandmama is black or some bullshit, and that gets her honorary black status because these niggas are horn dogs. Okay, so they show white people in a positive light in the movie. Even Rosewood only had a few good white characters, but most movies, most black movies that are even showing white supremacists, they still have white people that are sympathetic.
Sammy's daydreaming about being in Chicago where there's no Jim Crow laws.
All the black characters throughout the movie want freedom from the white man. And as we'll see throughout the film, their definition of freedom is opening up a den of iniquity and excluding whitey to engage in all manner of hedonism. So they're mad about Jim Crow law, but what do they plan to do? Separate entirely in their own little den of sin. Eventually through the scene, what we have is
Well, yeah, it's there. Okay, yes, the movie centers they're showing the criminal element of the South. Of they are, but black people, we had to get it. We had to get in where we fit in. The white man own all the legitimate businesses. So what are you supposed to do? We're supposed to just sit there and work for the white man, sharecropping? See, the white people, they don't act like, even when black people go into crime, there is always most times a reason, especially back in that era, there was a reason for it. Going to moonshining, going to running a juke joint, going to running a gambling den or whatever. You had to get in where you fit in because that's what, there was no legitimate avenues because they're not going to let a black man open up. And then the whole thing, the movie, I agree with the point of the movie was against these white supremacists. White supremacists always give you Christianity because it locks your mind down to worship this dead white savior figure. But it doesn't open your mind. See, how long have black people been playing to white Jesus and what's come of that? Nothing. So what is, there's nothing to come of that. So white people had to get in where they fit in. A movie like Lawless was the white version of the moonshining. They had to, when the Broke Hicks characters, like in the movie Lawless, have to go and moonshine to make ends meet. They're portrayed as heroes. But then y'all sit there and look at sinners like it's such a bad thing when all they're doing is running the moonshining in the juke joint. There's no other value. What else are they going to do in the South? What else were they going to do? Are you going to give them money? If you were living back then and you're whitey living back then, are you going to give them money? No.
Smoke saying that Chicago isn't nothing but Mississippi with tall buildings instead of plantations.
And that's true of the time period because you have the racism of the mafia, of both Irish mob and Italian mafia, La Cosa Nostra, the Yiddish mafia, known for racism. That's portrayed in the movie Hoodlum with the British actor Tim Roth played the Yiddish mobster Dutch Schultz, real guy, who was notoriously violent and racist and white supremacist. But of course, these certain types of people, they don't want to be portrayed as white supremacists.
And then further, he says,
and that's why we came back home. Figure we might as well deal with the devil.
And this is how you will see the movie continually refer to white people. And sometimes they even get so explicit as to say white devil. And of course, one of the things you later see is that Hogwood, you know that evil racist from before? Well, it turns out he's late because white people are always late to everything.
Cracker showing up, they already got us behind schedule.
Because, of course, we have to simply invert the stereotypes. But at this point,
No, because the white man is portrayed as late in this because he's not respecting the black man's time. He doesn't have to. He's basically a white royalist. So he's really saying, like, Mr. Fuller portrayed it as white people basically are like of a royal family. He could be a bum in the street. At least he ain't a nigger, is their mentality. So he's going to waste the Michael B. twins' time and the other black people's time because he doesn't respect their time because they're nobody. They're just niggers, right? So that's why he wasted their time. It was late. But idiot white folks, they don't understand that.
they go their separate ways and
Or better yet, they're playing stupid.
split up. Now, we then follow Smoke
And then you have white folks that really are stupid, like Warren and Bill. They really are like just dumb.
town. And what's funny is even in the black part of town, Smoke can't leave his truck unattended for 5 seconds without blacks trying to steal from it. I mean, blacks are...
Well, the movie, of course, Ryan Coogler, and if I make a film, I might portray that in a film where, you still have black people trying to do something for themselves, and then you still have rat-fake black people trying to hold us back and try to steal from their own brother, right? Instead of stealing from the whitey, he's going to steal from other black people. And they have to make an example of that because kindness is taken for weakness. If he just let them steal some booze and shoot him in the kneecap with a 45, then they're going to say, oh, we can just walk over this nigga, right? So you have to have that reputation of brutality in a lot of situations, or you're going to be, you're going to run amok. It's almost like how the anti-weaponry and gun crowd, they act like, oh, so if we just ban all guns and just throw them all in a smelting chamber and only police and military have weapons, so what are we going to do? We're going to just pull out a knife on a guy that breaks into your house with a deuce and, just beg for our lives and stuff like that? No, you have to have the brutality. You have to be willing to use force and violence to defend what's yours, or you're going to get walked over.
Are so oppressed in this movie that the police don't even seem to care in the slightest that Smoke just shot 2 people in the street. Smoke then goes on to buy...
No, they wouldn't give a shit. They see the white man didn't give a shit, just like today. They don't give a shit about black on black crime. Even today, there's black on black crime that happens where black people are blatantly shot, and some of them are solved. They can lock a nigger up, but they do it out somewhere and secluded. Even in Chicago or even in the South, some places where they do it secluded, they get Jacksonville. A lot of murders go unsolved, and they never solve them. And they always say that in the first 48, they don't solve it. Police always say they don't solve in the first 48. It probably will never be solved.
Buy supplies from the Asian family that runs the general store in the segregated part of town. And when the Asian girl goes to get her mother to begin negotiations with Smoke, the subtitles that play throughout this are actually kind of hilarious. Now, according to the subtitles, and this is a value-free analysis, this isn't me adding anything, shooting each other is just what black folk do.
Wait, that's actually the subtitle?
Yes, that's what it says.
I think I watched it without. That's amazing.
Yes, that's exactly what it says. Well, it's sure is good to see that nothing's changed in about 100 years later. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
I wonder why. Because white people want black on black crime because that keeps keeps niggas fighting each other instead of fighting them. I think who was the black actors that said no? It's funny. Professor Griff said, or his sister soldier said in the 90s. They said black people kill each other because we haven't been taught to kill white folks.
But they are who we thought they were.
But while Smoke is in town, Stack and Sammy are driving around to recruit others to help them at the juke that night. And the opening scene of them driving in the car, I kid you not, is Stack teaching Sammy how to muff dive.
And you'll see that constantly throughout this movie.
That's a stupid modern feminization of the black male bullshit of, you're going to sit there eating women out and you're going to sit there and do stupid shit like that. And then that's just some stupid shit. If you're a well-bled black man, you ain't got to eat a woman out. She's going to be so satisfied after you're done anyway. So, done with normal sex anyway. So you don't have to eat a woman out anyway unless you're just a little bitch. But that's 11 Mexicans and white boys and other Hispanic weirdo dudes do that stupid shit.
The movie is degenerate. I needed a shower after watching it.
In case y'all don't know, there's a common stereotype that black men don't eat coochie. So again, this is another black stereotype that they immediately tear down, although they've just affirmed a white stereotype that doesn't even exist just minutes earlier. Stack then goes to recruit a musician named Del.
Oh yeah, white people are notoriously late. I mean, have they ever? When it happens to the military, white boys be showing up late all the time. They're just not punished for it. But that's the stupidity of white folks. They always have the whole mentality, like the police and the government themselves, rule for thee, not for me. You know, I can do whatever I want to do, and that's the problem. White supremacy. White supremacists always say, "I can do whatever I want to do," and screw you, niggas. I don't follow the same rules as you.
To Slim, and he uses Irish beer to convince a clearly struggling alcoholic to come play blues for him in their juke. And while he's talking to Slim, Sammy meets a woman named Perline.
By the way, Delroy Lindo's Jamaican anyway. He's not even from America.
Finds out that she's married and instantly tries to smash.
I'm married, by the way.
Happily.
That's his first instinct.
Subtle.
We're then introduced to Stack's former fling, Mary, who happens to be white, and she's extremely angry that Stack left her and didn't even come to her mother's funeral. And she goes off on him because of this. And I thought it was funny because after her outburst, Sammy remarks to Stack that
Maybe she ain't white.
and it's just so fitting that he sees her being loud and making a huge scene in public as this inherently black quality.
I was in a doctor's office not too long ago, and you know what was happening? There was a fat black woman sitting in the reception area playing a gambling app on her phone at full blast.
And every single person watching this, whether you'll admit it or not, you know you see this all the time. Don't lie to yourself. And it's always full blast on the volume.
Well, and they're claiming ownership of it. This isn't like, oh, we're sorry, we'll turn it down. This is like, yeah, this is a black quality. That's what she's saying.
They're almost kind of daring you to say something. After this scene, we cut to Stack, Sammy, and Slim in the car. They pass by some prisoners, and Slim tells the prisoners, "Hold your heads." It turns out the reason that they're having to work the roads is because they were in prison for vagrancy.
Man, you remember whenever we actually used to enforce laws?
And it's funny you say that. I can't wait for people to say that these laws just disproportionately targeted blacks. I wonder why that is.
You mean the same way that the murder laws disproportionately target blacks?
Somehow that tiny percentage of young black men is just overly represented. It must be just bad luck.
Just the white man doing what he does.
Slim even goes.
Yeah, you're being sarcastic, but that actually is true. That the white man creates a system where the murder rate is higher in the black community versus other places. And so it's almost like white man doesn't want to take ownership. So it's like, for example, you have a king in the kingdom. The king is responsible for everything that happens because he has the power to take off anyone's head. So, for example, let's say the king of England, he imports some jungle bunny from Africa there, and then maybe some Jamaicans there, like they always do, and they start acting a fool in the shanty towns in somewhere right outside London. He's responsible for that because he could just say, "Off of your freaking heads," right? So that the white man is so responsible for all the behaviors that go on in the kingdom because he does not enforce the laws of the same rate of white folks, and they know that's going on, but they don't give a shit.
Goes on to explain.
There's some these guys are the actually nerds. They're like the fat loser weirdo white boys on some actually they're like some actually bullshit artists.
That he was
Anyone that supports his videos is a freaking moron.
part of one of these groups, and that because they were good musicians,
I bet Bill is sitting there jacking off this video. So you have racists doing ebonics, like all black people are uneducated. I'm so tired of these people. So these white supremacists are coming out and saying, "I'm so tired of these people." So this is like a white supremacist echo chamber. Racist toward how can you be racist towards white when they run the society? That is like saying, I'm going to be. It's like if when Nat Turner killed his slave master during slavery, he was being racist. Say no, he wasn't being racist because he was killing the oppressor. You can't be a racist against an oppressor. But white guys, I'm eventually going to have to hurt a white guy. Next time a white guy says he's going to have to get hurt. So I always keep a pistol in my pocket.
White folks let them out of prison to play music instead of serving time. And not only that, they even got paid to do so and drank all the money away. That sounds like some serious privilege to me, but what do I know?
Well, and
what the fuck do you know? What the fuck do you know anyway, you dumbass cracker?
then by being blessed with this privilege from the white man to serve a lessened sentence because you're a skilled musician, he then draws the conclusion that
See, white folks say they like the blues just fine. They just don't like the people who make it.
And there's also repeated remarks throughout this whole film that Christianity falsely paints blues out to be the devil's music. But would you like to hear some song lyrics from Robert Johnson, arguably the most famous musician linked to Delta blues? This is a quote. This is an exact quote. He says, "Me and the devil walking side by side, gonna beat my woman until I get satisfied." That is a quote. That is a quote.
Truly black excellence, dude.
Delta Slim then goes on to mention that white people have no rhythm because only white stereotypes are true, not the black ones.
Speaking of having no rhythm, there's a scene later in the movie where in the juke, they stomp a guy's head in to the perfect rhythm of the blues song that's playing at the time. In perfect rhythm. Pale, pale moon, stomp, 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 pale, pale moon, stomp, stomp, stomp.
Yeah, I'm all too happy to be off rhythm if this is what you associate it with.
It's crazy too, because that scene is played like it's this empowering thing.
Right? Hey, leave them alone so they can kill each other. What do you even say? But let's move a little further. They eventually go to recruit a fellow Type 2 named Cornbread to be their doorman. And then after that, Smoke visits his old flame Annie and recruits her to come serve food at this juke joint. Now, this woman Annie is into hoodoo magic, and it's revealed that they previously had a daughter that died, which will come into play later in the movie.
But finally, we get our first view of our main antagonist, Remick, and the scene is shot in such a way that he kind of drops out of the sky and quickly runs up onto the porch of the house that's in frame. Now, how did he survive in the sun for so long? When they zoom out this kind of wide shot, it looks like there's nothing around for miles, but this house, I mean, when he makes it to the porch, he's literally smoking. And of course, the couple that answers the door for him, there's a very, very blunt camera shot that shows their KKK robes in the background, in case we didn't know that every white person was evil. But soon after,
a lot were blatant KKK members. The KKK actually is a lot of the KKK chapters are still taxing them to this day, and most of them never been prosecuted. But see, white people are good, right?
his arrival, these very righteous Native Americans come and try to
Pretendians stealing our heritage.
warn this couple about this dangerous man that they've been chasing. It's kind of fitting because obviously the Native Americans.
They always get a Mexican actor because the Pretendians are just Mexicans. Either they're mulattoes or Mexicans.
Were Whitey's first victim after all.
This just feeds into the classic noble savage trope that's been perpetuated in Hollywood for a long time. But moving right along, we then fast forward to a scene where the juke joint finally opens up. Unfortunately, we see Mary yet again, and she proves to be nothing more than a typical mulatto female race traitor.
And you say that because it's actually revealed she's an eighth black, since she says that her grand.
Yeah, so it's the one drop rule. Okay, she's claiming black even though she's only one drop black. You can't even see her black features, obviously. So it's like, yeah, one drop rule. She's black, and so that's just a complete other. That's some biggest bullshit. When I first saw the film in theaters last year, that's the biggest bullshit I called in the film immediately. As soon as I saw it, I said, that's the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Because I'm very familiar with Mr. Fuller's work. I read his book a few years back. I've read all his videos and all his podcasts. And he always said, if you look white, you are white. to this whole thing of that. You know, in Puerto Ricans do the same shit when it's convenient. I love black people. When they get around white folks, niggas ain't shit. You know, a bunch of migrantes. No amo negro. You know, so they play both sides. Just like same mixed race people, the true mulattoes, like maybe Zazie Beetz and Halle Berry, they play both sides.
Grandfather was half black.
And it's funny, Mary herself comes out and says,
I didn't want to be white. I wanted to be with you.
I had no clue race was negotiable. And you could just ignore the other 7/8 of your heritage just to focus on that 1/8 that you like. And if this is the case,
well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense because in that time period, the blatant black men are known to be better in bed anyway. So no wonder that she wants to be with a black man.
why did she even agree to marry a white man instead of being with Stack because that's all she wanted? Like, whenever they're discussing Mary's situation, it turns out that she is married to a white man.
Well, I guess y'all would call her a mud shark, right?
At which point
she's a race trading mud shark because she's with a black man.
She says,
because y'all have small penises.
I didn't want no white man.
It's like, but you did. But it turns out you don't even love him. You just used him and you want to be with this guy Stack. This chick, Mary, literally chooses the bear. And she wants so badly to shed her whiteness, leave behind her wealthy white husband, and be with this career criminal and former pimp, which is crazy. Like, the movie portrays every white character other than her as evil. And she's absolutely a warning that even the most well-intentioned race-mixed people will eventually come and corrupt black culture. And she's painted in a morally positive light since she hates her whiteness, but she still can't fully overcome it.
It is never enough. If whiteness exists in you, it will corrupt.
That is the message.
I mean, the second co-host sounds like Mr. Nasally. White people are corrupt, you know, and black people are sitting there being corrupt, and they go corrupt, and white people do. It's like these guys have their own thumb up their ass. They're probably sucking each other off at night. While they go have a gay, gang bang, and just shut the hell up. Like, why are they sitting here, you know, saying all this stupid shit? You know they're homosexuals. Why you gonna be homosexual, man? Why are you talking about this stupid ass movie? Anything that shows white people in a bad light, even if it's palpable to most white people, they have a problem with it.
Now, moving along even further, we then fast forward to a part where Sammy sings a song about.
Because you have to be a full white supremacist if you think that killing Klansmen is bad.
Now he sings this song called "I Lied to You," which is about abandoning his religion.
And mind you, the white girl in the movie is they get an attractive actress. They get an unattractive African chick to be like one of the Michael B's twins' love interests. I forget their names. I smoke a stack. I get them confused because they're twins anyway, and they're fictional character. I mean, Michael B's only one person. They cloned them in the digital technology, but it's like they don't get like a freaking attractive black actress. Name any way you want to say, freaking. They could have got the chick Normandy, whatever her name is, or the chick that's as attractive as the chick that's married that the young blues guy wants to get with. You know, a movie should not be reality. So when I make a movie, it doesn't have to be reality. Every black female that's of a fertile age is going to be attractive when I make a movie, but it's not supposed to be reality. The bad guy has to lose in the end. It doesn't have to be reality. So a movie has to have a message, or a book has to have a message where the bad guys pay in the end. You can't have it where the good guys lose in every freaking, like real life. Like, no, a movie doesn't have a message where evil is punished. That's the main thing I didn't like about the film, is that he becomes an immoral vampire. He stays with Miss 1/8 black chick, and he is fine. He's not punished for that. That was the weakest part of the movie, because From Dusk Till Dawn, which makes this movie a remake of From Dusk Till Dawn, except not as well done, is that it's the black version of Dusk Till Dawn, except shitty. And so then no one's really punished for all their misdeeds except for the one blatantly racist cracker man, blatantly white supremacist guy is punished for his misdeeds.
To sing the blues. And in the chorus of the song, he uses the line, "Somebody take me in your arms tonight." Sammy simply wants to throw his religion away just to get some nookie. That is
okay, yeah, because religion is basically anti-sex, openly Christianity is anti-sex. but then they do all this weird sex behind closed doors of hurting kids and all weird shit they do. I mean, homosexuality, hurting kids. There's been priests that have violated women. It's just all this bullshit goes on, and then Christians be like, "Well, it's like the true Skyline fallacy. Well, he wasn't a true Christian." It's like, so when is going to be a true Christian? If he claimed Christianity, if he's a practicing Catholic priest or practicing Christian Protestant pastor, and he's violating, doing all these crazy things, when is it going to be where y'all take responsibility for all the crimes that Christians have done in your name? But no, Christians always just say, "Ask Jesus for forgiveness," or do your Hail Marys if you're Catholic, and you're forgiven, right?
Is what the song is about. Abandoning your family and your religion to get laid. That is what he's after as a character.
Now, interspersed through him singing this song, there's a scene where Delta Slim explains to Sammy,
Blues wasn't forced on us like that religion. You know what I'm saying? He brought this with us from home. It's magic what we do.
and now we get to my favorite scene in the movie. This scene is tough, man. I not only burst out laughing when it happened, but I lost brain cells. And yet, this is the...
Yeah, I'm losing brain cells listening to you idiots.
They follow the standard vampire rules of needing to be invited in. So the vampires are denied entry specifically because they are white. And then one of them asks, well, how did Mary get in there? And Annie responds,
She here because she family.
the vampires then ask for the ultimate liberal fantasy, which is for everyone to be colorblind so that they can all be family for one night. At which point, Smoke reaches for his gun.
Can't we just, for one night, just all be family?
Please take note, liberals. This is how they feel about you.
Well, everything, it's like a rape victim not want to see a person looks like they're a rapist. It's basically like you done all these crimes. Another Irish prick coming over here. When a lot of Irish guys were slavers, just like English were and just like French were. Use all the crimes that white people committed. No wonder the Michael B. twin character is willing to pull his 45 out, because these guys clearly up no good. He's clearly up no good. Okay, he's clearly up there trying to do the whole olive branch with a hidden blade behind his back, because he's actually an evil vampire in the fictitious world of this movie. But he is out to for no good. They can sense that he's corrupted. He's an evil white person. But according to white supremacists, white people never done anything wrong. So just ignore it. So it's like when I was in the military, white people show up late to PT formation all the time. White people can do no wrong, though. They're not punished for it. Negroes show up late, you're punished for it. So it's like, that's the hypocrisy of white supremacy that I cannot stand.
And keep in mind, they have no reason to believe these are vampires at this point. They just see that they're white, and that is enough to completely...
Yeah, you got Jim Crow going on. Like they mention Jim Crow. These idiots mention Jim Crow. They act like they don't know what Jim Crow it means. Like Jim Crow means all these segregated laws on black people are going on. They shouldn't even really have Mary. I think her name is Mary, played by Haley Steinfeld. Is the young Jewish actress is in the film? They should even have her ass in there talking about 1/8 or some shit. And it's like, bitch, you gotta one, you don't have an ancestry damn report in the 1930s. Then two, if you look white, he is white.
Ostracize them, because in the eyes of this film, there's zero daylight between white people and vampires. After turning the white vampires away, Smoke is upstairs talking to Sammy, and he warns him that he hasn't met a happy musician, and that typically the life of a musician only satisfies for so long. But
and they used the term black in this movie when black didn't start used until the 1960s. It was the term colored or Negro back then. Anyway, that's something about this movie. It was like idiotic. It wasn't the parlance of the time. It's like they coined the dumbass phrase African American, when that is like saying that we're from Africa or some shit, when black people are not directly from Africa. We found out. But then it's like also the whole thing of this whole foundational being coined by Tariq or whatever his name is. It's like we're not coming here founding anything. We're indigenous, just like the pretending to our legacy of being indigenous natives. There's a short video I always show idiots because it just shows blatant. It's a 30-second clip that shows that it shows the black native people holding their spears and all their war regalia. Like, we are from this land, and originally the white man came here and corrupted us.
he's young and defiant, and he disagrees. He said that he loves this life and he wants to continue to pursue a music career. Smoke tells Sammy that if he's dead set on running away from the plantation and pursuing music, that he needs to go to this place called Mound Bayou that was founded by free slaves and is entirely black owned.
Now, we actually
And
bothered
it would turn women colored or Negro.
to research Mound Bayou, and it further reinforces how fake the narrative around black-owned communities is. One of the things I saw, almost every available source treats it as a paradise of black excellence, yet these same sources claim that the reason it failed is because when desegregation began, all the blacks left and chose to live in white suburban areas instead. Now, I bothered to look into some old newspaper articles from about the early 1900s, suggesting that education was a massive issue even back then for Mound Bayou. And as time goes on, it only gets worse. I mean, even recently, the school was shut down there for a variety of reasons. This includes the questionable usage of funds. This includes bad food, according to a student, which, by the way, lunch was entirely free for every student in the Mound Bayou school.
Yeah, on the Mississippi taxpayers' dime, of course.
And that school had an F in accountability rating from the state of Mississippi. Whether in the 1900s or now, not much has changed. When you actually look into it, you see that this school is crap, and it always was.
The impending
Oh, you idiot white supremacists. They don't act like they were probably not given the proper resources because it's a black community. The taxes are not going to, all the tax revenues goes to the white communities, you idiots. Like, I'm losing brain cells listening to you. It's like listening to Bill or some shit. They come up with all these bullshit arguments to defend white supremacy. But modern white supremacists, they're like Christian apologists. They come with all this bullshit. They don't just say, I believe in white supremacy because I'm an evil ass cracker. That's what they can just say. They don't have to come up with all this other bullshit about, well, it was bad because blacks are bad. It's like, well, do you think that they're going to let a white run state like Mississippi is going to let black people have proper funding and proper food and education? No, these are the same people that during slavery, it was illegal to read.
financial
Even in the Bible.
trouble of the twins
What a goddamn idiots these guys are.
motivates Mary to go check if the vampires can help out the Juke financially.
What about them crackers?
What about them?
I can go feel them out before they're too far gone.
And Mary once again cannot.
And if you like this movie and you're black, that's cool. But I'm just saying that there's far better black films. It's basically a bad black exploitation remake of From Dusk Till Dawn. If you've never seen The Dusk Till Dawn, it's basically the same movie where vampires are undercover in a Mexican town in From Dusk Till Dawn with George Clooney and ugly ass Quentin Tarantino's goddamn ugly ass. But it's the same freaking movie.
Not wait to betray her own
Watch Rosewood, far better film.
race fast enough and sell them out.
I mean, according to these guys, Rosewood didn't exist, and it wasn't just racist white people that make up a fake sexual assault claim of a white woman and didn't burn a black town down. I guess according to these guys, that didn't happen.
To help the career criminal and former pimp who she is madly in love with.
I wonder why black men had to go into pimping because in other criminal activities because of a lack of opportunity. Like a white supremacist is going to give a black man a job back in especially 1930, other than some backward shit like sharecropping where you're losing money hand over fist. I mean, you're losing, you barely can feed yourself because the white man's robbing you blind because he owns the land. Or it's, or when you go and do moonshining, a petty crime that the I don't know if the Kennedys actually did it, but I know they might have been involved indirectly. But I know that they did insider trading. The Irish mob and the Kennedys did insider trading. Of course, Italian mafia did moonshining. A lot of redneck guys, basically the redneck mob in the South, did moonshining. They're celebrated as heroes of the movie Lawless, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. Black man does moonshining, he's a criminal. He's a criminal. And then, or a black guy does pimps out a woman, he's a criminal. White guy opens a bunny ranch. Oh, it's cool. It's fine. Who Hefner has a bunny ranch. Oh, it's cool. It's fine. It's fine. The white guys do that. Larry Flint run porno mags. Oh, it's cool. It's fine. But if a black guy does anything like that, oh, he's a criminal. You sound like Bill Greathouse on the hypocrisy, dude.
So that she can leave her evil white husband in the dust. That is all white people are.
Just like Warren, he has a negative 50 IQ before he died, talking about black people are inherently stupid. And then he's talking about Asians on top, which Asians can be very dumb. And that's still white supremacy, even if you say Asians on top, because they're like the fairest skinned non-white people. So it's a complete idiocy. And that Bill tried to defend that shit blew my mind. I mean, if I saw Bill in person, I would just slap his ass in sight. He wouldn't do shit about it.
To the makers of this film. They're just living, breathing
The Cali motherfucker ain't gonna stay up in Iowa. He ain't come back down to Florida.
bullets because they claim that whites are the real vampires, but in
Because
reality,
well, you better have a gun if you want a damn chance, like the mob movie Casino said, where the Jewish guy told the former pimp, he's like, you better have a gun, you have a chance.
who is it that eats up exorbitant amounts of taxpayer dollars?
And that's what's so offensive about this movie and the framing that it constantly engages in. It is an active inversion of reality. But getting back to the movie, after a failed attempt to take advantage,
Black people don't have any opportunities, and you're mad about us using the bottom 20% using tax stamps when white people, and actually percentages is it's when you look at percentages, that's actually a lot of lies, and it's it's a lie of omission, because white people, 7% of white people is a lot more white people supposedly in America than black people. So 7% of white people is way more people than 25% of black people. But these idiots don't want to. They don't see. I'm a black person with a brain, so I know that. But these goddamn idiots are trying to play some bullshit. Every single thing they've said was been bullshit, like I knew in this video. Every single thing these idiots said was bullshit.
to the vampires that are outside, Mary eventually gets turned. But before that, the three vampires are outside playing an Irish folk song called Go Lassie Go. And this song, of course, is an Irish folk song about inviting a woman to walk through nature. And it's very wholesome and actually kind of a pretty song.
But as everything in this movie, if it's sung by a white person, it must have a dark nature about it. And of course, the lyrics match up perfectly with inviting Mary to assimilate and give up that last little remaining bit of black identity that she still has.
And for whatever reason, and this scene again is very hilarious, Mary realizes that they're vampires. And instead of walking back to the juke joint while pointing the gun at them, she turns her back on the vampires. And then Remick, he turns on creative mode in Minecraft and jumps on her. And it needs to be said, these special effects are terrible consistently and throughout this whole movie. They look awful.
But unbeknownst to the patrons inside the juke, Mary is now a vampire and she is invited back in by Cornbread. And it's in this scene that I hear quite possibly the cringiest line of dialogue I have heard in a film in my life. I can't make this up. She says to Stack, "You rob banks and trains, but can't steal this pussy for a night?" I can't, dude. What Redditor wrote this?
It's
Okay, that's pretty bad dialogue, but okay, so what? There's been a lot of white films with shitty dialogue. I mean, that's all of Chuck Norris's career. Corny dialogue.
so bad, man. It's so bad.
Ryan Coogler, who directed this, is considered an elite director and writer. This is the pass you're given when you're the right skin tone. Mary then uses her feminine
Oh,
body.
okay. So when black people finally get a pass and make it just a mediocre film, you hold it to his feet to this goddamn fire, and it's all this shit. How many shitty white movies have come out in the past just year? I mean, shit. I mean, how many these dumbass white movies have won a bunch of Oscars? Timothy Chalamet made that dumbass movie, Marty Supreme, that was terrible. I watched it. I didn't pay for it, and I watched it. It was a waste of my time and bullshit. He hang out with a black dude in 1950s New York like that was a thing. It was bullshit. Ty Creator's punk ass. And then, so it's like, how many shitty white movies have come out in the last year? I mean, then forget about the last 20 years. How many shitty white movies have come out that just suck, whether they're bad comedies or bad action films. They just suck. I mean, the list of Sinners is really a great, compared to the last what's come out in the last year of the shitty movies. I mean, Sinners is great because it's actually has some semblance of black masculinity in there buried in the film, but it's just not on like up to level 10 on level like Rosewood or something like that. Also movie like that, which is this movie is clearly trying to be Rosewood and Dusk Till Dawn in a blender, but it's just Rosewood is a far better film. And then in terms of white and Mexican film, Dusk Till Dawn is a better film.
To seduce Stack and eventually bite him and turn him into a vampire. But it's interesting because when Smoke and Sammy break in while she's biting him, Smoke mag dumps both of his pistols into her, but it still doesn't kill her. And she says to them,
"Who ain't gonna kill every last one of you?"
and then runs straight out of the juke. What's interesting here is that it's established she's bulletproof and wants to kill everyone else, yet doesn't bite anyone else and runs out of the juke. Mary being the one that turns Stack really feels like a message that even the most well-intentioned whites that on the surface level are allies are still susceptible to the pool of systemic racism and will eventually bring you down with them.
Yeah, okay. You stating that doesn't make it not true. I mean, white people blow my mind. They say the truth, and they act like saying that it'll make it not true.
Bread then tells Slim he needs to take a pee break and waddles on out into the tree line, and of course gets jumped by the vampires and turned. And one thing we've seen consistently with the vampires up to this point is that they're extremely polite in their demeanor, and Cornbread adopts this after he turns.
Being kind to one another and being polite. Now we is one people.
And again, they're not subtle at all with this. He's clearly adopting the mannerisms of whites after being infected by their culture. Isn't it great that the evil of Whitey is having good manners? That's the deep infection that he's wrought with.
No, that wasn't the point of the dumbass you idiot. It was a point of he was trying to pretend to be friendly. He's like an Uncle Tom pretending to be friendly when he really was working for the enemy. Even though in vampirism you don't have a choice and once you're bitten, but he was. If you're trying to compare it to real life, it's like an Uncle Tom that sided with Whitey long ago and pretends to be your friend, and then he's snitching out to Whitey. He's snitching into Whitey, or whether it's the actual police department or just Whitey in general or the government. He's snitching out to Whitey by pretending to be nice to you, ass.
It also reinforces the things we were saying before about being loud and obnoxious being an integral part of being black. This is intentional. They know what they're doing. They're daring you to say something about it.
And when Cornbread comes back from his bathroom break, he asks to be let back in, but Annie instantly realizes that he's a vampire and stops him from coming in. Cornbread gives...
Let's see how many white people are on Snap versus black. So whatever that thing was, according to this Google AI, it is 35% of white people in America are on Snap. So this old bullshit. White people are on Snap far more than black people. But they come up with they probably pulled a Snap report from 30 years ago or some shit. I don't know where they got that Snap report.
Gives a big speech about being kind and polite and being all united as one people. And once again, it really feels like a representation that the whiteness has infected him and his black identity is being eroded from the inside out.
Let's go ahead and use several quotes to
You're
read.
reading the shit into the movie that wasn't in the film. That was bullshit you pulled out of your ass. You got an idiot, because that was not in the film. The film was just talking about how that once he was corrupted by the white the film is using vampirism as a metaphor for being corrupted by Whitey, but him being polite, he was already polite before he got corrupted. He was just using his fake. He was just putting on the nicety to get them to let him in. So the vampire lore in this film, which borrows heavily from other older vampire lore, every movie has its own vampire lore, whether it's Underworld or Blade or whatever. Every movie in Dust Till Dawn had its own vampire lore. But this movie has its own Ryan Coogler's vision for vampirism. He was just being nice, so he can get invited to your resident, to any cross that threshold of the door, and then he can wreak havoc. And that's a metaphor for once if you cut a lot of bullshit out of your life, and you don't invite people to your home.
Enforce this. Annie says to Cornbread,
Admit to it.
Admit to what?
That you dead. That one of them white folks out there killed you and you a hate now.
Then Cornbread looks at her and says,
Well, it be your own peoples. No, I thought you was better than that. But you just like the white man.
which again shows that Whitey is not to be trusted because he is a race traitor. The worst part is he's kind of right.
Modern day whites in America cannot wait to erase themselves fast enough. They cannot wait. And a lot of it is years and years of this type of propaganda being pumped into the heads of our grandparents and parents who just accepted it blindly and just took it at face value, that multiculturalism is the greatest good we can achieve.
Now, eventually they go back inside and shut the door. Then, as it would happen, Stack, who the entire cast thought was dead, has now been turned. He pleads to be let out of the room that he's locked in, but to no avail. Eventually, he breaks the door down on top of Sammy. Now, Annie, perceiving that this would happen, takes a jar of pickled garlic and splashes it in his face, and he runs out.
We then cut to outside the juke, where Remick now has an army of vampires from all the guests that the twins had sent home earlier. They're all in a circle, and they're singing an Irish folk song called The Rocky Road to Dublin. The song's lyrics show the difficulties faced by the Irish due to famine and British colonization, and they're dancing an Irish jig while singing, which represents this defiance against the British laws that had previously banned traditional Irish cultural practices. Making Remick, who is the first vampire that we see Irish, was such a clear decision to show that while Remick's people were also oppressed by the whites, which resulted in a loss of his culture, he's now engaging in the same behavior that previously oppressed.
Yeah, that's what the Irish did. They came over here and did the same shit to black people that the British did. So what are y'all? What's y'all just being idiots because y'all know that was what happened? It's like how Italians first come over here in 1800s, like the movie Gangs of New York showed us, and then when the Irish and Italians come up here, but once they get their foothold in here, once they get the white status, same with Russians, all other Europeans outside the English and British, they come over here. Once they get a foothold, they become full white, whether they're Spaniard, and then the Puerto Ricans, Mexicans take on the identity of the Spaniard because some of them be passed as white, or they're just brown, stick around, and they take on the identity of the Spaniard. Then they take on the identity, and then you got some Mexicans trying to pretend to be. I've met a retarded Mexican when he's a homosexual. He's trying to take on the identity of the Italians. You always have these people trying to take on the European identity. So it's better to be Italian than being a nigger. It's better to be Irish than a nigger. Okay, so blatantly, and when you just see an Irish guy, if the Irish guy has dark hair, he doesn't have red hair. Blatantly, you can't tell an Irish guy from an English guy. Typically, I mean, am I wrong in that? I mean, in the comments, can you tell an Irish guy from an English guy walking down the street? You can't. In my opinion, you cannot, unless he has blatant red hair.
Tim, because even though he and the Irish were victims of colonial oppression, that deep-seated hatred that burns in every white man's heart is just too strong for him to empathize with the blacks and not force their assimilation.
Now, as Remick shows up, he promises that he's going to provide everyone a way out. And he says,
"This world already left you for dead. Won't let you build. Won't let you fellowship. We will do just that, together. Forever."
Now, keep in mind, this is the main antagonist saying this. This is an evil vampire, and he's offering them assimilation, which means from the perspective of the writer of the movie, assimilation and coexisting with the white race is literally painted as embracing evil and making a deal with the devil. This is how thick we're laying it on with this movie.
And
what's wrong with that? I mean, every time we assimilated in with white folks, we got now during segregation, black people, we were strong. We knew who we were. Gangbang was not on the level it is now, but black on black crime wasn't the level it is now. There's a book called Death by Lethal Integration. So once we integrated under punk ass MLK's vision and dream, financed by Whitey, it totally weakened the white race. Now black men are homosexuals in Atlanta from sea to sea, and now we're just modern goddamn idiot fools looking for the next penis to suck. So it's like now we're just completely lost, and there's no hope.
You can try and make the argument all you want. Well, the vampires don't necessarily represent whites. They beat you over the head with the fact that the vampires are very clearly culture vultures and represent systemic oppression. It's not subtle.
Now, the vampires, who were all white at the beginning, continue to warn against white men. I mean, Remick reveals that he wants Sammy because he's trapped here and can't see his ancestors, but Sammy can summon them with his music. He reveals to them that the guy that they bought the sawmill from is the Grand Dragon of the KKK, and that he plans to come kill them in the morning. But he says that if they join Remick and his gang as vampires...
Now that we got numbers, we'll probably go to that old bigot and rectify him, too.
I love the insinuation that bigotry is a bridge too far, even for Satan. He's
It's
like,
so funny.
I'm down for child sacrifice, but saying the N-word, that's a no-go.
That's incredible.
Remick offers the people inside.
He's clearly, y'all are being idiots. He clearly is lying. Once he assimilates them to the vampires, he might sacrifice the black vampires or whatever they can do in the vampiric lore, and then he can just do his thing, right?
The Juke unity in the form of a hive mind, because it's revealed all the vampires can see each other's memories. And again, this is very obviously symbolic of black culture being erased and them being forced to assimilate. Stack even pleads with Smoke to become a vampire because he tells him,
Who's never gonna be free? You've been running around everywhere looking for freedom. You know damn well he's never gonna find it.
did you ever consider, Stack, that maybe that's because you won't stop engaging in criminal activities? And just in case that the bluntness of this scene missed us, Grace goes out of her way to call Remick
That white devil.
Speaking of Grace, this woman has the ultimate retard moment of the entire movie and invites all of the vampires in because they threatened her daughter.
I also want to say she quite literally bites the hand of the black man who tries to keep her from doing this, to be able to scream.
And of course, the one Asian woman who is still left and alive is the weak link while all the blacks stand in solidarity. Meaning this, you can trust no one but your own race to look after your interest. Assimilation is not an option in the mind of the writers. It's a deal with the devil, and it's tantamount to erasure.
The scene of the vampires rushing into the Juke after her invite is also just comedy, man. From the cartoonish, fake-looking blood squirting everywhere to the laughably bad choreography, it's very hard to take this scene seriously. Also, the vampires completely overwhelm them, and right as they're about to finish the last remaining few off, Smoke keeps his promise and kills Annie before she can become a vampire. And for some reason, all the other vampires just stop attacking and leave the barn, despite there only being 4 human members in the Juke left alive and them having a massive numbers advantage. And to make it even better, they immediately come right back in 2 seconds later after leaving the barn.
Now, eventually, we see Sammy get caught by Remick in an attempt to flee, and he's so scared that he begins to recite the Lord's Prayer. You know, this evil thing that was forced on him by his father, that's what he's doing. Now, all the vampires know this because Christianity was forced upon them by the greatest evil of all, white Christian men. Then Remick begins forcibly and repeatedly dunking Sammy under the water, symbolizing the Christian tradition of baptism, at which point Smoke pulls an Arya Stark and teleports through a massive crowd of vampires to stab Remick in the back and drive a stake through his heart.
Now, the only argument that you could possibly make for how Smoke got past this massive crowd of vampires is that they were stunned because just before this, Sammy bashed Remick over the top of the head with the guitar, and it had a silver piece in it for some reason that hurt him, and they felt his pain. But even if we accepted that, Smoke moves silently through waist-high water, and after stabbing Remick, the sun then instantly rises and burns all the vampires away. In fact, the way they shoot it, you can still see the moon fairly high up in the sky, so that the transition just happens almost instantly. If you're going to use this film as this vehicle to talk about cultural appropriation and whites exploiting black culture, you could at least make the story make sense to push your message. But they couldn't even be bothered to do that.
No, nonsense. Hating Whitey has to take front and center. And to further illustrate that point, Smoke then stays behind after losing everything to finish off the KKK. So Smoke stays back at the Juke instead of escaping just to kill the over-the-top racist evil people. And he single-handedly takes them all out by himself because, of course, the evil white racists are all incompetent. Now, luckily, the racists have stormtrooper aim and can't hit him even whenever he is stationary, slowly digging up the Tommy gun. But one guy eventually nicks him in the gut. And as he's dying from the bullet wound, he sees Annie and his daughter dressed in white. You know the destination you go to whenever you're a faithful Christian, for whatever reason they believe in that. That part of Christianity isn't evil. We all like that bit. But before he can hold his daughter and be reunited with his baby mama, he has to finish Whitey off for good. Then we cut back to Sammy going back to the church, but for whatever reason, he goes back and doesn't repent, which begs why he even went back there.
And the thing that really stuck out to me as he walks through the church doors is everyone in the church is dressed in white from head to toe. And even the church itself is white. And because what the movie's been telling us all throughout it, I think there's a good case to be made that this represents that the black members of this congregation have embraced their place on the plantation as well as embraced Christianity and have assimilated and accepted the erasure of their identity. If they had only rejected God and chose to be sinners, they could be free from the shackles of oppression and embrace the important aspects of their culture like blues and twerking. That's what real freedom looks like. Now, there's a post-credit scene that is set 60 years in the future, and Sammy is now an old man playing music in Chicago. He gets visited by Stack and Mary, who offer him the chance to become a vampire. And if you'll remember, Annie said previously,
But they live on, even if the one that made them is killed. They gotta be killed one by one.
and this is just more ammunition to say the vampires in this film are systemic racism, because as we see, it persists through the years and can only ever be stopped by killing anyone who won't conform to the New World Order one by one. And honestly, this is pretty relevant to modern day America, where in the past few years we've seen cities burned to the ground in the name of progress, while white supremacy is the real threat to democracy. But don't pay attention to the fact that the founders of BLM all took the money and ran.
It's also kind of funny considering that the movie tells us over and over again that if blacks could just escape whites, that their culture would flourish. Yet almost every real world example of blacks being completely independent of whites ends in disaster.
Just look at South Africa. In the 2000s, 1,300 Zimbabwe farmers had their lands violently seized, and this was often carried out by state-backed militias. Fast forward to 2020, the Zimbabwe government agreed to compensate 4,000 white farmers, and they committed $3.5 billion over the next 10 years to doing so. And wouldn't you know it, they have consistently failed to meet the stipulated payment deadlines that they set for this.
Now, it's kind of funny when you think about what they said they would do and what they actually did. Is you see that they violently seized Whitey's land, then realized they couldn't maintain it, and had to bribe them to come back to avoid starving, but still didn't hold up their end of the deal. And you have the same scenario in Liberia. I mean, instead of creating a bastion of black excellence, what did they do? Almost as soon as the freed slaves landed, they forced the indigenous Africans to work the fields and tax them heavily.
This is what black excellence looks like when they're free of the white man's oppression. And meanwhile, there's plenty of white groups living off the grid, such as the Amish, that became self-sufficient through community without needing a bunch of government assistance. So despite the film's best efforts to show that white oppression is the only reason blacks can't succeed, we have a lot of real world data to show us that's not the case.
But going back to the film, older Sammy then says despite his immense trauma, which results in having seizures like once a week, he says that day was the best day of his life. And Stack, who is now a vampire, agrees and says,
Just for a few hours, it was free.
So again, what does freedom mean to these people? Abandoning religion, specifically Christianity, is the only way to truly be free. And you'll be labeled as a sinner by the white Christians, but it'll be worth it in the end. Like, what a horrific message to teach to anyone, which just goes to show what we've been telling you the whole time, that to the people who wrote this movie, freedom is the highest virtue, but freedom means nothing more than engaging in degeneracy. That's it. And the message of the movie is that if black people were to gain their freedom as they see it, they would segregate and engage in as much hedonism as they possibly could. The movie also has a second post-credit scene where you get a flashback to Sammy inside the church singing This Little Light of Mine. Now, the issue I have is that he twisted this song to mean something other than the original intent of the song. The purpose of the song is a call to let the light of Christ be seen in you and to glorify God with your good deeds, as stated in Matthew 5:16, not to let your own light shine through shameless self-affirmation. So finally, to wrap all this up, this film repeatedly tells us that white devils hold the black population hostage and that their oppressive religion brands them as sinners for even daring to be free.
The twins survived World War I and were able to free themselves from their abusive father They were able to free themselves of Christianity, and they were able to free themselves of the plantation. And what did they do with this freedom? They robbed the mob, pimped out hoes, and opened a club where sharecroppers could come together to freely cheat on their spouses while getting blackout drunk.
And that's not an exaggeration. That is what happens in the movie. We've been shown time and time again that there is no amount of begging, pleading, or even groveling, and there never will be enough to satisfy those who would hold slavery over the head of the white man. If blacks really cared about improving their lot in America, they'd get their own house in order instead of demanding entrance into yours.
But accountability's racist, dude. White people created that.
But many of them don't do this because the point never was about the righting of past wrongs. It's about gaining dominance over perceived enemies. And if people don't stop accepting blatant propaganda like this film, we're not going to have ourselves a country for much longer. And the country that will come to replace it will be totally unrecognizable.
What in the hell did I just watch? This man just sat there and said all this bullshit. It didn't make any no sense. Well, there you have it. I mean, what can I really say to that? A bunch of idiots. I mean, you basically just said, "Oh, we can." White man, he will not even try to fix the wrongs of the past. He just want to say, "Well, you're just being hypocritical for asking for payment back when he's paid the Mexicans and shit back and shit like that." So I mean, what else can I say that? I mean, just blatantly. I mean, this is just me just showing how they just say the most stupidest shit in the world, and because no one holds them accountable, white people can get away with this type of shit. And they've also bought their views because clearly this channel. Let's look at this dumbass channel. Or Wilford Brimley on the top as their thumbnail. Okay, they were getting 36,000 views on an Elden Ring video a year ago when Elden Ring was probably, I think Elden Ring came out 3 years ago. So it's like, how are you getting that many views on your first video about Elden Ring? Clearly, these are just guys that are paid shills. They say they're little nasally propaganda bullshit. Don't even make any damn sense. I mean, they just say blatant bullshit and they expect someone to just go along with it. See if anyone to join. I'm going to screen your ass, see if you're a troll. So let's see if anyone wants to join, and then I'm getting off in 5 minutes. But yeah, that was just complete bullshit. I mean, they blatantly just said that the movie is bad because the movie portrays Christianity in a bad light, which it is, and then the movie portrays white people as bad with the blatant racism of slavery and Jim Crow. I mean, these guys sympathize with, I mean, how could they even be mad at a white supremacist getting killed like blatantly like that? I mean, just a moron. How can you be mad at blatantly a white supremacist getting killed? A blatant white supremacist. It's like you got. I put a link in the chat, and we'll see if you're a troll if you join in first. Got to screen your ass. Yeah, that's really other bullshit. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. I mean, it's like some person, the person says something so stupid, you're just kind of like, and you know what they said was a lie. It's almost like if a white guy just was just trolling, he just says slavery doesn't matter and it doesn't matter anymore. That's like, yeah, what happened in the past matters, idiot, because it only 160 years ago. So it's like it's not even that long ago. I mean, think how recent that is in terms of how long the human race has been here. I mean, lowest estimate, even white academia at least says, okay, human race has been here 100,000 years. So 160 years is not very long ago. It's only two generations ago. A person can live to be 80. People that in good health can live to be 80 easily, right? So that's only 2 lifetimes ago. Not that long ago. When you've had human race has been here, and these guys brought up examples of like what happened in Africa when they're a whole different culture than us. And then of course, then a few black people go over to Liberia in the 30s and did some bullshit to Africans when Africans have messed over black people as constantly as well themselves. So it's like, how could they even? Then one has nothing to do with the other. We've never had and of course we could never have. American government was founded in 1770s and it's been here and it's been a stranglehold on us. We've never been free of that. And every place you go is white supremacists control the place. White supremacists control Africa and always have for the last millennia controlled Africa. And Africa is a whole different culture and they're tribalistic. They go along with the white man's bullshit. You got us over here. We got so many coons, Uncle Toms, and criminals and shit, but that's what white man wants. When we were in the time period of sinners, black people were stronger. In the 1930s, black people were stronger. We all knew who we were. We didn't want to be a white folks. And then the movie, and that's something I agree with Kruger's message in terms of when we allow these Irish pricks and all these pricks to come into our communities and just live in our communities, everything goes turns asunder because white people always got hypocrisy. And I have white acquaintances and shit like that. They always saying some bullshit. They're always saying some stupid shit. And you're like, you have to check them and be like, what are you talking about, you ass clown? I mean, you're trying to say it in a humorous way, but, I had a friend that recently told me a joke last night. Said like, oh, Kobe was one of the few black guys that took the kid with him. Of course, that was a racist joke that was kind of funny. But at the same time, white people hide behind humor to say racist shit sometimes, So it is like, I understand that a joke is funny and it's funny, and even as racist is funny, and that is true. But at the same time, you got white supremacists that just say some stupid shit to you and just want you to accept the shit because he's a white man. He can just say what he wants, right? And white man just says black people are inherently violent and thieves and criminals. You just have to okay. We as white man, that's true. We actually accept that shit. It's like I don't accept that shit because we got these knuckleheads, a few knuckleheads out here doing stupid shit. I mean, look at all the white boys doing stupid shit. I mean, constantly. I know there's a white bum that hangs out in Gainesville. There is a bum, dude. There's white bums all over Gainesville. There's white bums in Jacksonville. There's white bums in Tampa. I mean, where have y'all ever go to all these cities and see these white bums out here and then tell me, oh, there's white people ain't criminals and bums and shit? I mean, and look how many these guys blatantly pulled up some false statistic with Snap. I just pulled up statistic with Snap, and it's like 30% of people on Snap is like white. And these guys acting like it's just all black people on Snap. It's really bullshit. Well, that's all I gotta say about that, man. I don't know what else to say. These white boys can kiss my ass. Well, we don't invite people to the ass today, so they can just eat shit. Just tell them to eat shit. Just find some random shit to eat it. That's all they can do.